Well, hello, and thank you so much for joining us again on another episode of our Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions podcast, coming to you from Concho, America, in the Mediaplex here in the Education Department at the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes. I'm your host, Darren Brown, Senior Content Producer here at Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions. And today, I have all these wonderful people from the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes EPA program. Now, you may have heard of the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. That's a federal agency. It's been around for quite a while, but today we're going to get into how that translates to more local and a tribal thing. But I want to start with our director here, and you can introduce yourselves and go around the table.
Hello. We want to thank CATV for inviting us and letting us do this podcast, and thank Hawk and Darren for this opportunity to get our program out there. So my name is Chieko Buffalo, and I am the EPA director for the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes. And
my name is Dewayne Dudley. I am the environmental specialist 1.
Brian Sevenstar, the water coordinator.
Robin French, pollution prevention specialist.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. Like I said, I know, everyone's busy. And, it's easy to say, we'll be there tomorrow. And, we have, sometimes we have to cancel. And I know that it's, anyway, so I thank you for taking the time out from the work you're doing to come over here and get this info out. So, well, Chieko, like I said, I think most people, or some people, maybe not all, have heard of the Environmental Protection Agency, the federal agency. But can you explain how that translates to what you guys are doing on a local tribal level?
so, yeah. So our mission for our EPA program is to protect and conserve all the environment and protect the human health and our tribal members. And we are based off of the U.S. EPA. The U.S. EPA does the same. It's to protect the human health and the environment. But our tribal EPA program works with protecting our tribal members and our environment here on our tribal lands.
Can we talk about, since we have all these folks here, and each of you has a different piece of this. Let's just start with you, Brian. How does your job fit into what the overall, like the umbrella of the program?
Well, I work under the 106 CWA fund grant, and what we do is we go out and focus mainly on water quality, the 6 parameters of intermediate water quality monitoring. We have 6 sites within the tribal reservation. We just monitor those right now, getting our baseline going. So,
and Robin?
I work under the pollution prevention specialist. Pollution prevention grant. It's a bipartisan infrastructure law grant. It's new to the tribe. We're 2 of the tribes that were granted this issued this grant or awarded this grant in the Oklahoma.
And who's the other tribe?
Choctaw.
Okay.
Yeah. And so my grant focuses on more of pollution prevention in households, schools, workplaces, kind of making a change over from using the harsher chemicals that we use daily to more of a safer, healthier, homemade cleaning solution. That you use like the ingredients such as baking soda, vinegar, water, essential oils. You mix that up and you can make different solutions to clean at home, or whatever environment you're in, work, school. So that's pretty much it. Selling the idea to the tribal members.
That's a hard sell sometimes, I'm sure. Well, Dewayne, can you talk a little bit about how you fit into this?
I work under the GAP program, which is a general assistance program. It's to help foster sustainability and protect our natural resources. But also we are looking at it through a traditional perspective, like we always have, and trying to protect some of the plants and things that we utilize in ceremony. and in our everyday life. So when we are able to clean up these illegal dump sites, we're able to we can identify those plants in those areas because a lot of times they're in the same areas.
Wow, wow, that just blew me away. I'm so taken off of that. I think, and question, Chieko, just go to you. I think because you said it at the top, or maybe you might have said it before we went on. I don't know. I lost track. I'm getting old, right? No, I think it says it, in the words environmental protection, and so as Native people, we're stewards of this Mother Earth, and so I think in a way, what you're doing is a very I don't know, noble is a word, but I'm saying it's a very worthwhile and meaningful mission that you guys are on, right?
Yes.
I mean, surely you guys. I mean, I know there's so many jobs out here that if you don't have that passion for that job, then you're not going to be very good at it. So, how do you guys? I'm sure you all kind of feel that same way.
Yes, that is very true. And I think that the word you might be looking for is detrimental.
Yeah.
Because it is detrimental. What we do right now and how we live is going to affect our future generations. Just like how people before us, 30 years ago, what they did is affecting us in the climate, in our environment. And it's not just here, but it's worldwide, it's nationwide. It's affecting everybody. What the environmental catastrophes that have happened, we're still feeling that. The industrial revolution, we're still feeling that, because of that. Today, it's affecting us. And it's not just affecting us as humans, but it's affecting, our plants, our waters, and our animals and sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
but
it's
but
overwhelming,
yeah.
really. But I think, if you were to, there's so many things like that. If you sat there and thought about it too long, you might get depressed. But I think, you hear a lot of people say things like think globally and act locally. And I think that's what you guys are doing, right?
Yes, that's definitely what we're doing. So we take our steps here of what we're doing and what's going on in our tribal communities, in our environment where we live, and focusing on that.
So for people who don't know, who may be listening and or watching, who don't know much about the program, what you can go around the room here, around the table, what are things that you are doing that people need to know that you're doing?
So one thing that I, not just as a director, but what I focus on too in my work is brownfields. And brownfields is revitalizing an area or a property that has been contaminated by hazardous substances. One is our old school, Concho School.
Which is really right behind where we are right now.
Yeah, it's right where we're at.
Yeah. Now,
it's part of where we're at right now.
Let's just for the record, this is the part of the old school that has been, we're not in hazardous area right here.
Yes.
This building is safe, but it's the ones.
It's the other buildings that are contaminated.
And let me just real quick, as I understand it, those buildings were really operating until the early 80s. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, what you say contaminated? What are we talking about?
We're talking about asbestos and lead-based paint are the main.
Which were normal
two.
back then, really.
So back then they didn't know, But over time, it's become a hazardous substance.
Are you aware of
and
when those buildings were built?
in 1932?
In the 30s, okay.
Yeah, in the 30s. And then they closed in the early 80s. And that's when the federal government had, okay, you can have this, has given it to the BIA, and then the tribe took over on it. And then from that time, we lost funding to continue on the schools, on the boarding school that we have. And once that had happened, it just kind of lay dormant for years. And so over time, it's created all this substances that are unhealthy and environmentally unsafe.
And actually, this is a question I had not thought of until just now. Obviously, going in those buildings and spending time in there, I can see how it would be unsafe. Is there any dangers being in close proximity to those buildings? I mean, the winds blow like crazy out here.
Yes. So,
and it's not just us right here in this building. There are other buildings that are fairly close by.
Yeah. So, the building that we're right now we're in phase 2 of our Brownfields grant, and which is the boys' dorm. The boys' dorm has asbestos and lead-based paint in it. So all the flooring, the ceilings, the pipings that are through that building, and not just that one, but the girls' dorm as well, does have asbestos and lead-based paint. We do have hazardous stickers and labels. It's all labeled throughout the buildings on the outside, and signs showing that this is a hazardous building. This is a hazardous site. However, we can't always control people from going in there. But it is very, very, you have to be very careful being around those buildings due to the hazardous substances that are inside.
And I guess, and I'm only going to just throw out the question that most people would ask, who just don't know, are those buildings, are they scheduled to be torn down? Or is that, I mean, I'm assuming that since there are hazardous materials, there's a lot involved. You can't just go in and just knock it all out.
Yeah, you cannot just go and get a bulldozer and knock the building down.
Even though that would work, when you're talking about hazardous materials, so I'm just curious because I like I said, I think a lot of people who are around here and know about those buildings would be curious to know what are the plans for those buildings.
So the plan, so on phase 1, we've already tore down building 10 and 11. Mm-hmm. So those that are from Concho or has been here at Concho before, we did tear those down back in 2021. And the way that we did that was through a wet demolition. So it had to be sprayed down with water because of the asbestos. It's tiny particles that will go out and just like powder in a way. And we had to do the wet demolition and wet it all down while they were tearing down, that just so that it won't get in the air, because first, it's always windy out here. Second, there's people that live right by the buildings. We have a child care center. We have a Head Start. We have office buildings that are right by it. Why
don't y'all do that on my day off, all right?
And it did take a little bit because we had to watch out for, the weather too.
Yes.
The winds had to be down.
And this is Oklahoma. And wind comes sweeping down the plain.
And then we're on a hill, and so all those were factored in on the days that we were able to do the demolition. So that took a little bit. And now that we're in phase 2, which is the boys' dorm, that is also being done. We're right in the middle of that grant for brownfields. And so the same thing will happen to that one too.
So I think what you're trying to say is, everybody hold on. It's happening, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen overnight. I understand that.
It doesn't
You're
happen
dealing with federal
overnight.
funding here.
Yeah. And
I
federal,
understand that. I think most people do understand that.
yeah. And so that takes time. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of laws that come along with it that we have to abide by when we're performing any of these grants, and it's not just brownfields, it's water, it's pollution prevention, it's our gap,
just
it's
like everyone's sitting
everything,
on this table. It all,
Yeah.
I mean, you all have a hand in. It sounds like each one of you have a hand in almost everything that you do.
Yes.
And so let's discuss some other programs stuff you guys are doing that people need to know about. Floor's open.
Dewayne.
Excuse me. We're trying to get everybody to start thinking in a little bit different way, asking questions, asking of themselves to ask questions, that they haven't asked, or maybe that has never been asked, like, have you ever seen a baby pigeon? I never have. Well, let's go over there and see. Don't take anybody's word for it. So that's what we're doing. We're getting down to the numbers. There's a lot of misconceptions about what we do. But basically what's going on is the tribes are building a database for numbers that we can study in the future, and we can see when the water changes, when the air changes, and what's causing the changes. We all returned from Alaska not too long ago, and we got to see firsthand a lot of the native testimony, I guess, to their experiences about disappearing ice and permafrost thawing. And we had conversations about this, and Chieko and Robin, I walked up and they were having lunch with a reindeer herder, and they were talking to us, about their concerns. And these aren't concerns that, that are localized. These affect all of us. And they're dealing with the same environmental issues that we have: the illegal dumping, the hazardous waste, construction companies doing work and then not hauling off like concrete, construction debris, those kinds of things. And they're paid to do that. So we need to get together, and that's under Chieko. We've gotten together, and we've reached out to different programs, and we're going to start going back and forth and seeing what kinds of codes we can possibly have moved through legislature. And I think Chieko has a little bit more information on that.
Yeah, so a big issue that we deal with here at our tribe and within our communities is illegal dumping. Illegal dumping is a big issue. And I think illegal dumping mainly kind of happens because they don't know where to take it. And if they do know where to take it, it costs. It costs a lot to dump your trash, to dump old couches or beds or, desk or, household items. And other materials, they don't know where to take oil cans, or they just don't have any idea, that is a hazardous substance. So right now we are also working towards getting some solid waste codes done to help battle our illegal dumping issues with here in our tribal communities, and working to help with the illegal dumping concerns and that we do have, and trying to help with the cost. We do have a BIA grant as well. It's our swap grant, and that is going to help us get dumpsters out to our communities. That will help so that our tribal members will have a place to come and bring those,
You're
in their
talking about
communities.
bring what items?
Dumpsters.
No, I mean, I understand, when you're talking on couches and stuff like that, but that's a whole different ballgame from motor oil, something like that. Is that what you're talking about as well?
Yeah. So that one, you wouldn't be able to dump it in
Yeah,
there.
I get
Yeah.
that. But,
And
here's the
then-
deal.
but
You give
we
people
would-
dumpsters, they're going to put stuff in there.
Yeah,
Stuff
they
that
are.
doesn't belong
It's
in
just, we know that's that's going to happen.
I mean, well, and I was wondering, that I guess I would think that unless you catch someone in the act,
Yes.
how do you
And that's what
control
we're
that?
trying to figure out. Like we're
Cameras, I
looking,
suppose.
Yeah, cameras. Cameras are our next thing to get.
Yeah.
Is because we can't be there, and then we can't just go and, oh, we know this person,
Yeah.
dumped over here, and and get that information. Well, we can't do anything to them because we don't have proof. We don't have a way
Yeah.
to catch them in an act, and then there's the fine line of, well, was it on trust property or was it on non-trust property, or was it out here and, out here in the sticks, that we don't know who owns this land
then
or
you might
this
run
land.
into-
And
Well, we've been doing this for 20 years. I'm like, what?
oh, believe me, we
Well, we've had problems for 20 years. I mean, no, I
Yeah.
get that. Dewayne touched, and I think Robin did too, is like, and what we're talking about here is, it's an attitude, man. It's, I mean, for some of us, sit around this table, I mean, you would look at that and think, how could you possibly do that? How could you take those hazardous waste and just, how could you think that you can dump those onto the earth and everything would be okay?
Yeah.
How could you think that? At the same time, you run into people who, like I said, might say, well, we've been doing that for years. My dad did it, and I watched my grandpa do it. I mean, you wonder somewhere along the lines where people just ignorant, and I mean that in a way that you just don't know better. It could be, or did people not care back then, or man, they just didn't know any better. You're fighting against that. So, man, changing attitudes. It sounds like that's a lot of what you guys are. You're doing. You're attempting to do with all these different programs, right?
Yes, and that's our. It's tough. It's tough to get people to change, and to think differently, and to take the time, and put in that effort to help, protect the environment or their environment or, their lands, that's one thing we deal with all the time.
Yeah, and
It's
when
across
people
the
when we
board.
talk about their lands, people say, "No, I live right here. That's someone else's land. I'm not worried about that."
Yeah,
I see. I get.
But they're like area, their home.
Yeah.
Their yard. That's it's
Yeah, they think
it's tough.
they're thinking
Yeah.
it's mine. I can dump on it if I want.
Yeah,
Well,
but
but what if something seeps into the groundwater, gets into my groundwater, and I got a well, that's just. I mean,
Yeah.
Brian, you talked about water. Now I know. Let's see. Can you tell me more without going over my head?
Yeah.
I mean, because I think everyone understands pollution, and they understand that you can't just dump stuff on the ground and then or in a creek and then assume that it's not going to go anywhere.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, there's a lot that goes into it. I just recently started, so I'm still kind of learning a lot on this. But working with the EPA program has opened my eyes to a lot of things that I never really thought about or, really cared about. And working with the water, you kind of realize how much goes on in the water. There's habitats within the water, that things, how do you say, one thing has to happen for another thing to happen,
Yeah.
Fish have to have something to eat, things like that.
The proper,
yeah,
and not the
Proper-
hazardous things.
yeah,
they eat.
proper habitats. And you just kind of start seeing more of what really goes on, and what pollution can do. And, what you put in the water can affect a lot of people downstream, upstream, and just things like that.
Okay, what a concept, right? I know when we were the few days that we were in Standing Rock back, years ago when they were protesting the pipeline, we were putting a story together for television, and people want to look. Some things are complicated, and there are many sides to every issue. I understand that, but the way I put it together, I said, look, the basic reason is so people. Look, there's a pipeline coming through. Yeah, there's going to be money involved, and they'll pay people, the tribes, money and stuff. But their concern is that this pipeline is going underneath this river. And this particular river goes, downstream so many miles, and it eventually empties into the Mississippi and all that stuff. And it hits other communities along the way. So you have an oil spill here. It ain't just happening right here. Mm-hmm. It's happening miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles down the river. There's just, when you're talking about water, it's such a living thing that moves, and you're talking a chain reaction.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk. take your thunder.
And then one of the other things too is people ask me a lot about drinking water, which that's not what I do particularly. I do surface water, which is the rivers and streams that run through our communities. And that's the misconception for me.
Yeah.
That's what I get a lot. And
you're not the water plant guy.
Yeah, true. And there's a lot more that goes into that than what I'm testing for and what I'm looking for. But
and let me tell me if as I understand it, what you guys doing are you're and I know if you're talking about federal money, you got to have data. You got to have data. You got to have numbers. You got to jump through a lot of hoops.
Yes.
In order to keep receiving the grants, and I understand that. So I'm assuming that's a lot of what you do is gather data.
Yes. Right now we have 6 new sites that we're testing on, so we're kind of building that historical data to go on. If something goes up, goes down, we have something to look back on. If there's irregularities, and plus we're entering a critical period with it heating up and things are going to be drying up.
That's right.
So
that's right. Yeah.
We're gonna, I'm going to see what they're talking about with that. So.
When you say collecting data, does that mean you're out there every day testing?
It's right now. It's once a month. We go out there and we test for pH, conductivity, turbidity, and the water temp. So it's once a month on 6 different sites. So,
well, that'll keep you hopping. 6 different sites. Once a month doesn't sound like much, but if you got to travel all over the place, and I understand it. Well, Robin, you started earlier about. You talked about household chemicals, and and you just along what we're talking about, changing people's attitudes, changing behavior, changing the way people look at things. It's really easy to. I was cleaning my shower, not long ago, but there are no windows in our bathroom. And I said, I'm going to die in here. So I said, I went online. I said, surely there's something else I can throw together that's not going to, knock me out with these noxious fumes. And I did find something, and it worked fairly well. But that's kind of where we're talking about. If you had a bathroom or a kitchen with no windows, and you decided to grab 15, go to the store and grab 15 different cleaning things, one for your mirror, one for your countertops, one for your sink, one for your floor, one for the bathtub, and you were in there with no ventilation. you're gonna hurt yourself. And the thing is, that when you think about it that way, if it's gonna hurt you, that stuff that's gonna hurt the environment somehow, some way.
Right, right. And that's where we kind of want to give the idea to our community members of making their own household cleaners in their privacy of their own home or for the school or, work environment. Some of these cleaners that we use, currently, take for instance when COVID hit, everybody was indoors. Well, when I was reading up on indoor air quality, the air quality indoors was worse than the outdoors, and people weren't ventilating. They were cleaning, thinking that they were doing something good for their indoor indoor environment. They were they were hurting themselves more with the poor air quality because you got cooking going on. You may have animals. All kinds of things going on in the household, yet you don't have an open window for that ventilation to, be released. So my focus is on getting the community to think about making their household cleaners, such as, the bleach wipes that you use. Those are hazardous. It says on the labels, itself that, all the caution labels will not, you read. Does anybody read those,
I used to be able to, but now I can't. They're too small.
And they put it that way so that you don't
I'm
pay
old enough, I'll
attention.
take a picture, then zoom it in with my,
Right. And I think that they put it so small that you don't pay attention to that, or they put it somewhere that you don't really, so you won't catch that, information. But it's interesting to find these when I started researching household cleaners, I got, overloaded with all kinds of recipes to make for the home, just whatever environment, you got out there, you got the schools, homes, and work environment. The thing I like about it is that it's cost efficient. The ingredients I've got on hand was baking soda, white vinegar, isopropyl alcohol, 70% preferred. Some of the recipes called for a higher content, alcohol content for disinfectants, and some people use those, for the stronger disinfectant, and whatever works for them, and that was a question by someone recently who asked me, how do you get around that? Is the disinfectants, do they work? How efficient are they? I was like, well, it's depending on the alcohol content, the
really?
percentage.
Okay.
Yeah. But they prefer 70% to be safe.
You mentioned white vinegar. Yeah, I was telling you about cleaning my shower. Now, I will tell you, my shower did smell like vinegar for a couple of days. but a couple of days it was gone, hey. But it worked, man. Cleaned the heck out of that grout. Hey.
Right. Well, it's better than feeling those dizzy feelings.
Yeah.
Sick to your stomach.
Well, and then, you're in there, and then you use all this cleaner on your shower. Then you're like, do I really want to go and take a shower in this thing with all that steam coming up? I don't know that I want to deal with that. But man, you got to be fighting an uphill battle as far as, do I want to go to the store and drop a couple $3 and get this so I can spray and clean real fast, or do I want to go buy 3 or 4 ingredients and come home and mix it up? And not that that's difficult. It's just that
it's the time that's
people
put into it.
Don't want to spend the time.
Right. They want something. Right.
That's why we eat fast food, man.
Yeah,
which we know is bad for us in every way.
Yeah, I was telling Chieko when we started talking about all this, what we were going to say. we live in such a fast-paced world.
Mhm.
You know, everybody wants a quick fix.
Yeah.
You know, and whether it's cooking, cleaning, whatnot.
Guess what? There are no quick fixes
Right.
when it comes to the environment, man. There's like you said, Chieko, it's like we're paying for things that were done 30, 40 years ago. And I hate to keep throwing, personal stories, but some years ago, I worked with a guy who had been in the Navy for a number of years, and I forget what kind of ship he was on. I can't remember, but and then he was talking. I was just asking him more stories about what he did, and he said, yeah. And then the EPA or whoever stepped in and made us quit doing that. And I said, what? Quit doing what? He goes, yeah, we couldn't like just dump stuff in the ocean, like their waste basically, And I said, what? And I guess. I don't want to call out the Navy, or I should. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, maybe it was another. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. But he said, yeah, man, we used to like just dump stuff. And he goes, man, don't you know how big the ocean is? I'm like, yeah, but I mean, just think if you're doing that, and that ship and all those other ships in the fleet were doing that. I mean, come on, man. And that was, that would have been probably in the 70s or 80s. And I just thought, you see stuff on, documentaries on TV all the time. They find, when they look for sunken ships and, ships from the war or whatever, they find other stuff that was dumped, that those at the same time. And very often, they're in those barrels that are, they're falling apart. Because metal barrels aren't meant to be sitting on the bottom of the ocean for 45, 50 years,
Yeah.
Oh, don't get started. I'm sorry. Let me step down from this soapbox. But I think that's what we're talking about. That's we're dealing with. We're trying to play catch up from 40, 50 years ago, man. And that's just that's a battle every day, right?
Correct. What I'm dealing with illegal dump sites are what you're talking about during that timeline. I call them the legacy sites because they've been there from the 70s, probably the 50s, and then they're just all over. And so it takes me a long time to find them and then to clean them up or even get access to them. We've had a few here at Concho, and I got them identified and I started cleaning them up with the help of other departments, and I really appreciate their help. Brian, he helped me out and cleared the way so I could get to 3 sites, and he told me where they were at. So members of our community are really important because they know the history and they know what's going on. And that's what we're trying to do is reach out to the community and find solutions and change, the way we do things and find a best practice for all of us, because we're looking at something that's systemic. It's not just our people up here, it's everywhere.
Yeah. And you got to have buy-in from everyone involved. Not just the youngsters, not just the oldsters, people inside and outside the community, because it's very possible that some of these sites that we're talking about in and around the Concho area are not from people in the community. Let's just be honest. It could be that someone knows a spot. Hey, I got 15, old tires. And I know a spot. Maybe they live in Oklahoma City or something. Maybe they're more than willing to take a trip out here and dump on our property. I'm sure it happens.
Yeah, and that's what we think too. It's not just. I don't think it's just our tribal members or anything. It's open. We have an open road. That goes straight through here. It's not blocked off in any way. It's run straight through here, and we can't tell who it is that's coming out here and dumping, or that who has dumped in the past. The sites that Dewayne, had cleaned up, that was here at Concho, they were old. We went there and assessed one of the sites, and I found a cassette tape.
Oh man, was it a good one? Was it a good one?
It was Ghostbusters.
Oh nah, that's nothing. Was at least Ghostbusters 1? No, not forget that sequel,
But it was,
man.
yeah. But that told me, like how old that was.
I thought you could say maybe it was Rick James or something, man. I was going to let you have that. No. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But
well, yeah, that's the thing. It's that just tells you that people had bad attitudes 40 years ago. Not bad attitudes. I mean, the wrong attitudes.
Yeah.
Let's just say. Well, I know that you Dewayne mentioned, you had help from the community. It seems like since I've been here, I've seen times when you all have cleanup days. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And tell me tell me what happens on one of those.
So we've had community cleanups, and we've provided 30-yard roll-offs out in the communities.
What is that?
It's a big dumpster. It's like a big 30-yard.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Metal dumpsters that we have, that we were able to get and then put it out in the communities. We've had them in Kingfisher, Concho, Canton, Clinton, Hammond, and we've given dates, when they're available, and we've had some really good turnouts.
A lot of good response.
Yeah, and some of them have filled it to the rim, and then was overflowing. But then we've also had other times where it wasn't. It was just empty. Or very little was on the bottom. And then we've been able to extend it. And so that's, us, okay, well, we only need to maybe put it out in another community or somewhere else where they can have access to it. So we've put it out in a different location in the same area, and got a better response there. So that's what we're working at towards too. We're going to have some more community cleanups. We did have an Earth Day cleanup last year where we combined with the Department of Labor, Parks and Rec, Housing Authority, us. The legislators also helped us too as well for the cleanup, which was everybody coming together, which was great.
Is that cleaning up one particular site?
It was we combined with the city of Sealing. And so Sealing was having an Earth Day. They have an annual Earth Day cleanup. And so they provided all the roll-offs there in Sealing. And then we got with them, and they're like, okay, well, this area needs help in this area, or this home, that has been abandoned that had, solid waste around that house, or our tribal members that wanted to get rid of items. We all combined and went to Sealing one day, and we were able to knock out 16 houses, and pick up all of their solid waste materials or household materials, and take it to that area there in Sealing, and we cleaned up 16 houses. So that was such a great turnout, and we were just thankful for the city of Sealing, and all the other programs that we were able to work with.
Well, let's. I want to make sure that I give you guys an opportunity to talk about what other kind of projects do you have, and are there any other projects that are community involvement?
Yes.
Stuff that people need to know about and get involved with.
You want to tell about yours?
Yeah, mine is focused on getting with the facilities as in programs. I say facilities because that's how it's worded in my report. Excuse me. And so far I've got four to five scheduled to go out there and meet with them and talk about this whole idea of planting the idea with their program and using healthier ways of cleaning their facilities. So that's in the works right now. My grant allows me to do as many facilities as needed. I've got the money, I got the funding there to use it. So I'll be traveling from here to, out in the communities. So, but that's my thing right now. I'd like to set up in the future more podcasts to talk more about this as I go along. But that's it for now. Just meeting with the facilities.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This is and actually we have one more member over there. She was too shy to come in. She's back to taking pictures, documenting the whole thing. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you all for being here because, like I said, this podcast is all about getting the proper information, not just to the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribal people, but hey, you Choctaws want to come? Hey, all of my relations, all those folks who are interested. I mean, yeah. I'm sure there are native and non-native people interested in what is going on out here, and I think people need to know that there's a lot of good work happening, yes, on all fronts. I mean, we've had respect on here, man. We have social services, you guys, and it's. There's so many of these that we've come on and I've learned so much because I like your program. I knew this much, but I walk away with like that much, and then as soon as you're gone, I'm like, I should have asked about this. I should have asked about that. Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned that because we would like to have you guys back. This is just a really good start into letting people know who you are, what you do, and like I said, I know we've only just scratched the surface here. And but I want to make sure that we don't wrap this up, and I don't want to miss anything. Are there any other things coming up or things that we did not talk about, some objectives and events that you have that we really need to hit on?
Yeah. So one thing I do want to bring out there to everybody is brownfields. We are going to have an outreach and a community outreach. And so I really want everybody to, if there's anybody that is affected by us taking these down, because there's a lot of history. There's a lot of history out here at Concho. There's a lot of history with our boarding schools, and it touches people, with the whole boarding schools and what has happened to all of our Native people, and in our families, and we would like to know that. We would like to know how this taking down building 10 and 11, did that affect you in any way? Did that affect a family member or a friend or somebody, that somebody may know of? We want to know that. And so we've had outreaches before for brownfields. We have a documentary as well about our project called Restoring Nishkamani. And that has been, it's Restoring Mother Earth in Cheyenne. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly.
Oh, no, I need to know right now, Chieko. Somebody go get the dictionary. Get the Cheyenne dictionary.
Go get Gordon. No, just kidding. But yeah, so that's what. So that will be coming up soon, as we, progress in our project for our Phase 2 Brownfields grant, is having the community outreach to get to those who may have been concerned or been affected, or that don't even know really what we're doing, to ask us questions, come and talk to us. We're here at Concho. We're available. We have our program, our numbers on our door if we happen to not be here, because a lot of times we're out in the field. you know.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, you know, we got, you know,
I want you guys out there doing
everyone
the work,
going
baby.
yeah. We're all out there
Yeah.
at different times. So we're okay, you know. And so, but I would hope that people would come to us and you know, even if they wanted to come and tell us a story, you know, of their grandparents or themselves, or, you know, their even kids, you know, what they think, or what is it, or, you know, have any kind of questions to ask us when it pertains to the environment or, you know, brownfields.
I have one question really quick, and when I talk to these different programs, so many of them have their own acronyms, and I have to stop. What does that mean? And I am so sorry if this is a dumb question, but I have to ask, where does brownfields, that name, that word, come from?
So brownfields, it's from US EPA,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's to revitalize a place or a property or an area that
Is it basically like meaning a brown space? I mean, an older space? I don't know. I'm just curious.
I had to look that up because I had to look that up too.
And I
'cause
asked
was like,
because the word, I've seen the word a number of times,
yeah,
and I always thought that's what it meant, but I never really knew. And I'm just thinking, you know what, I'm all about asking the stupid questions for everyone out there who wants to ask. I'm not afraid to ask a dumb question. So there may be a lot of people who said brownfields. I don't know what that means. Is that some guy's last name? I don't know. You know, so that's the only reason I throw that out there. But
yeah.
basically, you're saying what that means is rehabbing, and does it have to be a building, or is it just any space?
It can be like any kind of space.
Okay.
It can be the land. It could be the soil. It could be the waters. It could be
But when you
a
say
building,
brownfield, it's
like,
referring
it's
to
just
something being rehabbed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
see, guys,
revitalized.
that's how it works. you throw me your questions, and I pick them up, and I give them to Chieko. So, well, thank
Yeah.
you. It looked like you were about to jump in real quick, Dewayne.
No, I was just listening.
Okay, he was really listening, really attentive. Okay, before we go, are you ready to say something?
Yeah.
Oh, I see Robin's looking at me like he better not wrap this thing up because I'm finna go off.
Chop me off. No, we do have our outreach meetings coming up for the water, the air, and the pollution prevention, and for the GAP program or grants. So we'll be posting those soon.
Posting them where?
Global.
Okay, but I mean,
so-
is there now? Do you all have a website, or do you all have a Facebook page, or do you go through someone else's?
No,
well,
we are not on the website yet.
Okay.
But we are in the works of getting EPA program on the tribal website.
Okay. Well, and see,
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up because people need to realize this is there's a lot of stuff going on at the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes here, and if you go through our website, the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes website, there's like program, and there's a lot of stuff. And if every program had their own website and Facebook page, you would never know where to go. So they're in the process, as I understand it, of consolidating some things to where you can go to that website and you can find everything you want to know about the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes. And you guys are probably included. I mean, we are too. So that's the reason I say it that way.
Yeah. So we've been working with ComIT on what we want to put up on our part. It will be under the Department of Administration.
Okay.
Because EPA is under Department of Administration, so that's where.
Well, that's good info
you'll
because
be able to
people,
find
if they
us.
didn't know, they might look for under. I mean, there's a lot of departments here.
Yeah.
We got a lot of stuff going on out of here, man.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Robin.
No.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Brian.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
But one
Chico's
more
got something.
thing.
Chico's got something. Look out.
We will, whenever other programs have, they have outreaches, we try to get in with them. There is an outreach that's coming up at the end of the month, and some more outreaches. It's just hard for us to try to get them out there whenever when it's short notice, but we have to have outreaches, for our program, all of our grants.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you
But we
have to
are-
in so many ways.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have to because there's numbers involved, but also
There's-
on the mission of what you're doing, you have to.
Yeah, and there's requirements,
Yeah.
and we just want to be out there.
Yeah.
We want to get our information out there. We want to get what we're doing out there to the people and to the communities.
Good info given today, right? You guys feel good about it?
Awesome.
Yeah. Can I get a real pivot? Yeah. Okay. Okay. With that, I want to say thank you all so much for joining us today, and I seriously hope you will come back. I know Robin will.
She's ready.
And I'll tell you another thing. No, I think we put some great info out there, and I think we've given people a lot of stuff to think about. And hopefully, you will search within yourself and really come to understand this is the only Earth we have. I mean, it's
One
like
Earth.
and it's just like we got one body. Hey. Just think if you had one car, you don't have one car your entire life. I think you take really good care of it. We don't do that with ourselves. We don't do that with this earth sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'll stop preaching now. So I also want to thank you all for being here, and I certainly hope you will come back. So thank you for joining us on another episode of the Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions podcast. We will see you next time. I hope.
Thank you.
Thank you.